Okay, guys, in this video, we're talking about how to find and test different angles to sell from so you can operate at maximal selling efficiency. So what this entails is, number one, what is an angle and why does it matter? Number two, I'm going to give you some examples of an angle set for a specific offer. I'm also going to tell you how an offer, how to determine if an offer is actually good or not, how to come up with these angles, and then also how to test those angles so you can find the best ones, cut the losers, and scale the winners. So starting out, what we're going to cover is what is an angle and why does it matter? So why is this actually relevant to you? Why do I need to care about it? And actually, what is it? So an angle is basically just a specific way to highlight the benefits, features, or value of the product or service in a unique way that addresses the needs, desires, or pain points of a specific target audience in a specific way. So you're looking to basically position the product or service in a way that sets it apart from competitors and attracts the attention of a specific subset of potential buyers. So for example, angle X might attract Y subset of the market, whereas angle Z might attract a different market segment. But what you want to keep in mind is it's not always going to be as pertinent, or it's not always going to be as potent with specific angles. So specific angles might be weaker, they might resonate less, they might perk up your ideal customers less, and therefore get less marketing efficiency, while others might be really strong and they might perk up your ideal customers to the point where like, oh my God, I need what do you guys have? What are you selling? So finding the winning angle for a business is important because without testing these angles, you are likely losing money that you don't need to lose in your marketing efforts, because when you are selling to these strangers, you basically have about 1 to 2 seconds max to get their interest. So this means that you're going to have to figure out what you have to say in those first 1 to 2 seconds in order to actually get them to give you even a second of their time. So if a random angle is just getting run by, you're just running a random angle and you're never even going to know, number one, if you could be getting cheaper leads or more interest with a different angle, or if you should just be scaling your current one because it's currently getting you the best results out of any possible angles, but you won't even know if the current angle you're using is the winner because you won't have tested anything. You'll just be basically operating in the dark. It's basically like, oh yeah, I'm just going to leave my future to chance because I don't care to test the different angles. Probably one of the stupidest things you could ever say. What you really need to be doing is testing many, many angles so that you can eventually find an angle that is going to be an absolute winner. Because what you're going to find is for most of these companies, one angle takes them to essentially their first 100, 200K a month at least. Because once you crack the angle, you really, really just start piercing through the market. But the thing is, most businesses fail without ever finding this, or they don't fail without finding it, but they sort of just chip away and they're growing kind of slowly, and they're not really pushing, they're not really in hypergrowth. But the way you actually enter hypergrowth is by finding one of these angles and riding it to the moon. So basically, either way, if you aren't testing angles, you are going to be losing money. And the other thing is you might also be bringing the wrong types of customers with a current angle. But without testing it, you may never know that your business has this whole new potential that is left completely untapped in a new subsection of the market that would only be interested in one outcome that your offer delivers, but that you never talk about. So for example, if you're selling a fitness offer, one angle that you might use is selling that your clients get more dates. So everyone that works with us gets more dates. But by doing it this way, you might never ever appeal to a dad who just wants to get back to his former athletic glory. So he's having a lot in fitness. And this ICP might be the best and most highest paying customer that you could ever get, but you are never going to attract him using a dating angle. It's just not going to happen. This dad might have more money, they might have more LTV, they might have a more potent pain point, and they might be the best customers that you'll ever have and you'll ever deal with because they love you so much, you're solving such a great problem for them. But like I said, because you never tested your angles, you're never actually going to go ahead and find that this dad is your dream customer, and you just will never know. So you can imagine how much money and how much love for your business you will lose just because you didn't tap into that angle and you didn't test it. So definitely worth testing. In terms of other examples for a fitness offer, you might sell more energy, more confidence, more dates, lose weight, add muscle, save time working out with X workout plan, better sex, more test, get jacked, or get back to where you were years ago. So basically the reason I tell you this is because if you're doing a B2B service, that's typically who I work with, if you're selling agency services, software services, you want to look at the exact problem that you are solving and then look at what are all the different angles, what are the different ideas that I can come up with. And we'll talk about that more in a second. But basically what I want to talk about first is how to evaluate if an angle is actually good or bad, so how to know. And obviously the number one thing is that it's going to have outsized performance compared to other angles. So what we initially did when we started running this was we made a crazy mathematic protocol to try and figure out how we could statistically, how we could run a statistically relevant test. So we basically made thresholds and we made all these stats and basically said if we send this many emails, it's going to be relevant. If we send this many emails, it's not. If we get this many replies, it's going to be good. If it's as many, it's not. And basically like whether we should cut or scale an angle i.e. to send more emails or to spend more on ads or to completely cut it. And basically that was a mix of looking at reply rates, positive reply rates, cost per lead, KPIs. But what we actually found was that typically certain angles will clearly outperform others, and it's not really that close. And we found that if a bunch of angles were hitting similar KPIs and it was close, what we really needed to do was test new ones until we found a clear outlier that was the moneymaker. So if everything's sort of in the middle of the line and you don't really know, when you would typically need to rely on some type of mathematic protocol, what you really need to do is keep those running because they're going to be okay, and they're going to get you leads in the meantime. But you really need to keep testing because you're looking for that outlier, that real money maker, that rainmaking campaign that completely revolutionizes your business. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And then the other thing is that prospects and clients will start mentioning it as the reason they bought. They're also going to have a visceral reaction to the angle, so they might actually feel it. So it might make them feel like an inner pain or an inner resonance or an inner joy or whatever it may be that actually gets them to perk up and get interested. And you're also going to notice that the types of customers and clients that you get from a specific angle are going to be a certain type of customer. So you're actually going to have either better or worse customers come through with a specific angle. So for example, if you offer a crazy guarantee in your marketing, you say, hey, we're going to add 100K a month in the next 3 months, what might end up happening is that you get a certain type of customer through the door. And if that is not the type of customer that you want, even if you're building really good KPIs and really good campaigns, you might not want to scale that campaign. But if you enjoy working with them more and they fit your dream ICP really, really closely and you start getting those better clients by your own standards, you might want to scale that campaign even if the KPIs are a little bit lower. Just something to think about. And then again, if your competitors start copying it, it's typically good. If they don't copy it, doesn't mean it's bad. Like if they're not just like not copying it, they might just have other stuff to do. But it's definitely a green light if they do, because number one, it probably means their marketing is on the ropes and they need to look at what you're doing in order to keep up. And number two, it probably means that they see what you're doing as the market leader, and then obviously they're on the back foot and you can kind of just dictate what happens from there. It's really a good thing if people start copying. I wouldn't get too upset about it. Obviously it can be frustrating, but if you're the best, people will always copy you. And yeah, next thing up is how to come up with these angles. What you want to do is you want to find specific benefits and transformations, pain points, nightmares, and fears, as well as current states of your customers, which are kind of pain points or nightmares. For example, if they're addicted to scrolling and can't focus, this is a type of pain point that is actually just their current state. So if you can identify a current state of your customer that they don't like, this is going to be a really strong angle. And the other one is mainly just benefits and transformations. So benefits might be, like I said before, more test, more jacked, get back to former glory, or even something like, better ROAS, better conversions, more leads, etc., etc. And what you might realize is that sometimes an angle might get a little bit tapped out. So sometimes people will always say, hey, more leads, hey, I'm going to get you more leads. And that might actually mean an angle becomes tapped. But another angle that you can make off of more leads is actually get less leads that are more qualified. So sometimes there's instances where an angle will get saturated or sophisticated, or people will run it and they'll get success with it, and then eventually people kind of get sick of hearing it. And then what you can do is, hey, let's make something that's a little bit of a development of that. And that is where you have things like market sophistication come in, where you actually end up beating the market, and this is going to resonate like crazy. But yeah, in terms of finding these angles, because obviously you can't just have these airdrops for most people. Most people can't find these airdrops. Some people can, some people can't. It's not your fault if you can't have these magical airdrops of advertising. Typically what you want to do is listen intently on sales calls with prospects, because a lot of times this is where you're actually getting that primary market data. You're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth, and you can actually hear, because you ask them, hey, what are you struggling with right now? What made you want to get on a call? And what do you hate right now? What are you frustrated with, et cetera, et cetera. And people will typically say, they'll kind of exhale and say, if I could just lose that 10 pounds of fat from my belly, or if I could just book 5 qualified sales calls per month that were actually interested, instead of these freezing cold leads that all these cold email guys keep saying they're going to get me. If you can find one of those things, if I could just, I just want this. I just need top of funnel, or I just need a better ROAS, or I just need more creatives. If I just have more creatives, if I just have more qualified leads, if I just had a clean CRM, all of these things, if I just lost that 10 pounds, you can see how you can see my face when I'm saying that. Maybe I'm just Leonardo DiCaprio and the best actor of all time, but it's almost like when you actually say it in that way, you can see that it would be a good angle because you can see that it's a little bit emotionally charged. And this just comes from really asking your ICP their dreams and desires, as well as looking for major pain points. So if you don't have sales calls, you can also interview customers. And then you can also do things like ask people in your network who are in your ICP. For example, if you sell to ecom founders and you know a lot of ecom founders, you can just ask them. You can text them. You can also do things like asking ChatGPT. Note here, you only want to ask ChatGPT after explaining in depth who your ideal customer is. So give ChatGPT a bit of background about who you're dealing with, and then just go, hey, what might this person hate? What might this person be frustrated with? What would be, their most pertinent frustration right now? Things like that. This is something that I've done to great success as well, is actually watching day in the life of ICP videos on YouTube. So I might be day in the life of an ecom brand, day in the life of an agency owner, day in the life of an XYZ founder. That is going to be super, super juicy because you're actually going to get to see exactly what they do all day. And then also in these day in the life videos, they might say, oh, well, I spent so much time rearranging my calendar. If you sell a SaaS that helps people arrange their calendar, you're going to be thinking, oh shit, I've just made a lot of money there. Great work. So then at this point, you've got your angles. You know all this stuff up here that we've covered. Now you're going to wonder how to test angles. So what you want to do to test an angle is create either a cold email campaign or an ad campaign using each of the 10 different angles. You want to send either 2,000 emails per angle or spend $100 on ads per angle. And then as the days pass of the campaign, you want to review the campaigns every single day and see which angles are winning and losing. Sometimes there are going to be clear losers and sometimes there are going to be clear winners. With the losers, you can actually cut them before you get to the number of emails or the number of ad spend spent. If it's really, really clear that they're a loser, sometimes you want to let them play out a little bit. For example, if you've only sent 100 or 200 emails, it's probably not enough data. But if you've sent 1,000 emails and no one's replied, you might want to keep it going. You might want to cut that one, sorry. And then if something's really kind of close and you're not sure, just keep it rolling. You only really want to cut it if it's absolutely clear. That's the main thing, because the worst thing that you can run into with a test is if you quit too early, you don't get a statistically significant result, and then you just wasted all that bandwidth on the test and you didn't actually get a result. So you want to make sure you get a result, and if you want to cut something early, make sure it's really, really definitive. But yeah, typically if you send 2,000 or spend $100 on ads, or $100 might even be low, to be honest. You might want to spend even more than that, but I'm just kind of making it an easy test that you can almost do for fun. Maybe even $1,000 on ads if you have the bandwidth for it. But really, that's kind of just an arbitrary number. Just spend X on ads. I should really just change that to X. Just spend X on ads until you get a couple thousand impressions or whatever it may be to see. Because it's really kind of a gut feel thing. You need to really look at a bunch of campaigns to figure out whether an angle is good or not. But yeah, basically once you find those winners, you want to write an extra 2 to 3 campaigns based on that winning angle, but in a different format. And then what you've done is you've probably just increased your marketing efficiency by a couple of 1,000%, or I'm not even going to drop a claim like that, but it's going to be worth your time. Like I said, if you can find that winning angle, you're going to be absolutely golden. And if you want to hear more similar to this, what you can do is you can go to the acquisitionletter.com and you can get some more insights. I'll leave that in the description, and I'll see you soon.